You know the story, right? The man who sells his soul to the devil. It's one of the most timeless tales there is. But what happens when you strip away all the fantasy and reimagine it as a cold, calculated psychological thriller? Well, today we're going to deconstruct a modern take on that Faustian bargain, reframing it as a predatory spiritual loan that ends, well, just like all those loans do, in a catastrophic foreclosure. So let's break down exactly how this spiritual predator sets his trap. So yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How do you take a classic cautionary tale, something we all kind of know, and make it genuinely unnerving for today? Well, the answer isn't about adding more fire and brimstone. It's about performing some really precise psychological surgery on the characters and the world they're living in. We're going to break this whole thing down in 5 parts. First up, the environment, the perfect storm that creates the vulnerability. Then, the specific blueprint for the target. After that, we'll look at the predator's two-pronged attack, the deal itself, and finally, the inevitable tragic end. Okay, let's start with the setting. And I want to be clear, this isn't just a backdrop. It's an active ingredient in the whole trap. We're talking about Reformation Germany, an era of just incredible spiritual and social anxiety. Now, what's so wild here is how the entire era itself becomes a weapon. I mean, just imagine living in a world where the fundamental rules of salvation are suddenly up for debate. That level of existential uncertainty puts an entire population in severe spiritual peril, making them desperate for any kind of answer. And that widespread anxiety, that is the perfect hunting ground for a predator like Mephistopheles. So in this incredibly volatile environment, the predator doesn't just pick a target at random. Oh no, he seeks out a very specific type of person. Someone who's been built from a precise psychological blueprint that makes them uniquely, and I mean uniquely, vulnerable. And here it is. It's called the Rasputin Blueprint. This is not your average curious academic. Think more like a disillusioned cleric or a mystic whose ambition isn't just worldly pleasure, but transcendence itself. He's a man who truly believes knowledge is power, and he's more than willing to operate in ambiguous spiritual territory to get it. That mix of pride and spiritual recklessness, it makes him the perfect mark. He's already walking towards the trap before the devil even has to set it. So this blueprint, it's designed to create a soul with 2 critical fault lines, 2 deep cracks. On the one hand, you've got this massive, towering intellectual pride, this core belief that he's smart enough to outthink God himself. But on the other hand, you've got this high-stakes existential dissatisfaction, a deep, crippling fear that he's just not good enough to be saved. Pride and fear. It's the perfect recipe for a catastrophic fall. And this quote just illustrates it perfectly. His intellectual pride, that's the massive, top-heavy mast catching way too much wind and making the whole ship unstable. But his deep-seated anxiety, his fear of damnation, that's the cracked hull below the waterline, slowly, silently taking on water. He's a magnificent vessel for sure, but he's already sinking. Okay, so now let's get to the predator's attack. Because Mephistopheles doesn't just throw temptation at the wall to see what sticks. No, he performs psychological surgery. He designs a 2-pronged assault that targets those 2 fault lines, pride and fear, with absolute precision. I mean, think about it. For a scholar who just hates being under the church's authority, this offer is irresistible. It's not about faith anymore. It's about knowing the secrets of the universe. It is the ultimate appeal to hubris, a direct promise to make him smarter than the very system he despises. And the second attack vector? It goes right for his fear. Mephistopheles offers him the illusion of freedom. A life unbound by the rigid authority of the church, free from that crushing weight of worrying about grace and damnation. This promise directly soothes his feeling of powerlessness. But of course, it's a self-destructive trap. It's the promise of a cure that is, in fact, the poison. So you have an offer of absolute certainty for his pride, and an offer of absolute freedom for his fear. For a man this tormented, this internally conflicted, what choice does he really have? It starts to feel less like a temptation and more like the only logical way out. And that irresistible proposition leads him right to the pact. But we're going to stop thinking of this as some magical contract. From now on, let's frame it for what it really is: a predatory, high-interest spiritual loan. Just look at the terms here. The principle, what you get, is a finite period of gain, a couple of decades of knowledge and power. But the collateral? Oh, that's just the infinite value of your soul, a complete surrender the moment you die. See, this isn't a fair deal. It's a transaction defined by a catastrophic imbalance, designed from the very beginning for the borrower to lose everything. This quote just nails it. Mephistopheles isn't some monster of chaos. He is the ultimate cynical banker of the human spirit. He's not interested in destruction, he's interested in acquisition. He understands the true value of the asset, the soul, and he structures the deal so that foreclosure is the only possible outcome. And this is the moment he makes the choice. He picks up the pen, he signs away the ultimate collateral, willingly participating in his own ruin, all because the deal was so perfectly engineered to exploit his deepest pride and his deepest fear. So once that loan is signed, the clock starts ticking. But you have to understand, in this kind of predatory system, default isn't just a risk, it's the engineered outcome. The foreclosure is guaranteed from the moment of signing. The finite period of gain turns out to be brief and, honestly, pretty empty. Then the debt comes due, and the foreclosure is swift and absolute. The soul is collected. The freedom he thought he bought, it was just an illusion, and now it's replaced by the grim reality the contract was always designed for, an eternity of servitude. So what's the warning here? What's the takeaway? It's that the most dangerous deals are the ones we sign when we don't understand the true value of what we're giving away. It's a timeless lesson in both spiritual and, as it turns out, financial literacy. And this right here lays out the entire system, the whole playbook of predation. You can see the whole chain of events, the anatomy of the fall. It starts with that anxious environment, which makes the perfect target vulnerable. Then, the predator designs the bait, sets the trap, and executes the foreclosure. It's a system, a process from start to finish. So at the end of the day, what should you take away from all this? The enduring power of this story, the thing that makes it so terrifying, is its insight into human nature. The most dangerous predator isn't the one who offers you the world. It's the one who takes the time to understand that precise, secret void deep inside your soul, and then offers you the perfect, custom-made key to fill it. And that is a cautionary tale for any age.